3 months ago, the roads like this one, well, they were a historic mess due to that historic flooding. Tens of millions of dollars in damages to thousands of homes and businesses. And if you were affected, you only have until November 24th to apply for financial assistance.
And representatives from the Small Business Administration have been at the station since 7 o'clock this morning, taking your phone calls, answering questions about how to apply for financial help. And joining us now to go over some of the most commonly asked questions is Richard Daigle from the Small Business Administration. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me on.
And bringing all your helpers with the phone bank.
We're trying.
We do appreciate it. First off, what is the first step for people who need help?
Sure. You know, the very first step for someone who's had damages related to this flood is to first of all register with FEMA. That's the very first step to get that federal assistance. After that, the Small Business Administration can come into play. But if they haven't registered with FEMA, by all means, we're encouraging them to do that.
No, and why are you encouraging them to do that? You were just telling us some of the differences between what you guys offer and what FEMA offers.
Right. Well, we're both part of the federal government. When FEMA is deployed to a disaster, as they have in this case, Small Business Administration is automatically triggered as well. And both of these federal agencies have financial assistance for people. That first step, though, is to register with FEMA. That gets you into the system where you could potentially get some grant assistance. That the grant money, you don't have to pay it back. But it may not be enough to cover all of your damages.
So what can FEMA offer versus what the Small Business Administration can offer?
Well, the FEMA will offer you grant money that you don't have to pay back, but it may not be enough to build you back all the way. And that's where the SBA comes in. We could actually provide disaster assistance loans up to $240,000 for a homeowner, up to $40,000 for a renter, up to $2 million for a business owner. In fact, as of today, statewide, we've approved over $52 million of loans. So the money's going out, but there's a deadline, and we're encouraging people to, if you haven't registered with FEMA, do that, and then the second step, follow up with SBA.
Sure.
How do you guys determine how much money someone will get, and how much of it will be grant money, and how much of it will be loans?
Well, they'll work with their insurance company. That's kind of the very first step. They register with FEMA, and then they get the grant assistance. And if the grant assistance covers all their needs, then that may be all they need. In many cases, people will have additional damages that the grant doesn't cover, and that's why we're encouraging them to follow through with SBA.
And again, they would have to pay back your loan at a 2% interest
Absolutely.
rate. So it's still a great deal for those people who've been devastated by these floods.
I mean, where are you going to go if you don't have, if the grant money and insurance money is not covering everything, you still have damages. You need to go somewhere to get that money. You need to borrow the money. Why not get it through the federal government, a disaster loan? For home loans, as you said, it could be actually 2.063%. If you are turned down by FEMA, by SBA rather, and declined for the SBA loan, you're actually referred back to FEMA, where you may get additional grant assistance. And so, you know, registering with FEMA, and then that step number 2, applying with SBA, those 2 steps are very important. It kind of puts you in a position to get the most amount of money from the federal government.
You said someone will get turned down. What are some of the things that might cause someone to run into some problems applying with the SBA?
When people apply for the SBA disaster loan, we look at things that a typical bank would look at: their credit score, their income, their debts and assets. Basically, we're looking at the ability to repay. You know, but you know what? If you don't apply, then you're definitely not going to get any help.
Right.
So that's our big concern now. Is November 24th is right around the corner.
It really is. Do you have a lot of people who don't have insurance who are like, what do I do? I mean, can you help them?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
You know, you have people that don't have insurance. They're either uninsured or maybe underinsured. And again, if you kind of think of it like insurance is one piece of the puzzle. It may help a little bit. That FEMA grant comes along, it helps more. But then you've got those 2 pieces of the puzzle to help, and you still need more help. Right. That's where the SBA comes in. All of these factors working together. With insurance, if someone is trying to settle with their insurance company, we encourage them to go ahead and register with FEMA, apply with SBA, even though they're settling with their insurance company now. We want to get them in our system. The sooner they get in our system, the sooner we could get them some help.
After November 24th, on November 25th, someone wakes up and they pick up the phone, what happens? Are they just out of luck?
Yeah, that may be the case. That's why we're trying to really sound the alarm now and get the word out for both FEMA and SBA that this November 24th deadline is very important. And it's very easy to do, you know.
Well, thank you for coming in again. People can call right now if you have questions about this to get that flood disaster assistance. The number is 248-350-3058.
And that's until 10 o'clock. So Richard Daigle, thank you so much for joining us this morning with the Small Business Administration.
Appreciate
When we
it.
come back, Food Network.